The following is an exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the National Football League. On this special episode of the Panthers Huddle, Kristen and TD break down rookie minicamp. Plus, step inside TD's film room as he highlights another new Panther drawing impressive comparisons. Welcome inside the Panthers Huddle.
Welcome to a special rookie mini camp edition of the Panthers Huddle. I am Kristen Balboni, joined as always by Thomas Davis. TD, do you remember anything about your rookie mini camp?
Listen, I remember coming into rookie mini camp and seeing all of the guys that had gotten drafted with me. And it was kind of like, it was a surreal moment because for me, it was like coming in as a young kid going to college. You start looking at the new guys that you've never met before. And for me, it was all about, I want to see how I stack up against these guys. And I want to see how different it is. When I came into college, I was one of the last guys given a scholarship. And I was able to work my way into becoming a first-round draft pick. So I knew that when I came in, guys were going to be looking at me like I was looking at the five-star guys when I got to Georgia. So it was about coming in, showing and proving my worth, showing my value, showing that I belonged on that football team. And I know that's kind of how some of these undrafted rookies feel, some of these guys that were drafted in the later rounds. They want to see how they stack up against the first-round draft picks, the guys that got drafted in the second round, the guys that were highly touted in coming into this draft.
What advice would you give for a first rounder like Teteroa McMillan? And then what advice would you give for the guys that are trying to make the roster? Is it any different?
You know, it's no different. Being able to come in and understand what the playbook is, and then understanding as a young undrafted guy, you know, with T-Mac being a first round pick, and then like you just talked about the undrafted guy, you got to come in, you got to understand the playbook. You got to start learning that as fast as you possibly can. When you leave this building and you go back to that hotel room, you got to lock in, you got to be committed to understanding that playbook, because this is your first opportunity to get in front of these coaches. And you don't want that opportunity to be, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to bust an assignment. Because they're going to remember that. It doesn't matter at what point it happens, they're going to always remember that that kid was unprepared. Whether you're a first-round pick or whether you are one of those guys that they just brought in for the weekend, you got to make sure that you put your best foot forward by knowing what you're doing.
Well, let's talk about Teteroa McMillan. Of course, all eyes are on him during rookie minicamp. Did you see first, though, where he said he's adjusting well to the humidity out here?
Listen.
He's got a little time, July and August.
Hey, listen, when I saw that, it was so funny to hear people talk about who's going to tell him, who's going to be the first person. Because, listen, if he's struggling to get adjusted to this, he's going to be in for a rude awakening. But one of the things I know about the way that we train around here, he's going to get acclimated real soon. And being a California kid, it is different. You know, I had the opportunity to live on the West Coast for a little while, and it's definitely different than being in this kind of humidity. So I understood what he meant, but he hasn't seen anything yet.
Well, something tells me that he's going to attack that preparation the same way that he attacks everything else. So let's talk about what we saw from him on the football field, on the practice field. What were your first impressions?
Listen, he is everything that I thought he would be. And when you see him in person, you don't really understand. Well, you can see him on TV, and you don't really understand like how tall he really is, how physically dominant he can be standing next to a cornerback that's smaller than him. And to me, it's going to be special because you put that together and you just don't expect a big man to move that way. How fluid he is, the way that he's able to get in and out of his breaks, and his ability to just pluck the ball out of the air was one of the things that really stood out, because you don't want a guy coming in, especially as a young guy, that gets so used to catching the ball with his body or letting it get into his body. So having the ability to be that big, that tall, and snatch the ball out of the air, that absolutely makes it almost impossible to cover.
Funny you should give him all of that praise, because Dave Canales said almost the exact same thing in his media conference earlier this week.
He looks smooth, easy to throw to, you know, just like we thought. And, you know, just taking him through the individual drills. I got a chance to kind of, you know, bop around between offense and defense, but in the little bit that I saw, I'll go back and watch a little bit more, but the little bit that I saw with the individual drills, you can see where the route craft and just a guy that works on his craft, you know, comes in and, you know, ready to go. So really excited about it.
TD, can you expand on what Canales means by route craft?
Listen, when you talk about route crafting, you want a guy that is precise in his route running. And you don't really see it in young guys. It usually takes time to develop that. And even the great Steve Smith, sometimes later in his career, I would hear Jake DeLong complain like, Steve, I need you to be on that spot. And that's one of the things that quarterbacks need timing with young receivers to be able to develop. But when you have a guy that comes in, understands where he needs to be, and he understands how he needs to get there, you usually don't see that with a taller guy. But him going out, it kind of reminds me of Marvin Harrison Jr. And watching him last year coming out in the draft, like, people were raving about his ability to get in and out of his breaks, how he was able to just get to certain spots on the field, break down, and not really look like he was slowing down when he got ready to make a move. And if you have a receiver that's able to get in and out of those breaks like that, really change directions at the drop of a dime without a DB being able to understand or realize what's about to happen, KB.
Okay.
That's a special player. And to be able to do that at 6'4", 6'5", it's going to be a problem.
Man, that is exciting. All right, coming up, though, we are going to turn our attention to defense. The Panthers and Jadeveon Clowney have parted ways. So what does that mean for the rookie pass rushers? We'll talk about it after this.
Coming up, Cassidy Hill brings out one of T-Mac's hidden talents on the Panthers Huddle. This exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers Television Network is brought to you in part by Bank of America, the official bank of the Carolina Panthers.
Last thing, you got at your draft night, you got me with a knock-knock joke, and I've been trying to find one to come back with you for, okay?
Okay. This is my favorite knock-knock joke. Say knock-knock.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Who? Oh, wait. And let me tell you, I went through like a bunch of them on Google. It's bleak out there. None of them are that great. You may have had the best one, but we're going to try this one, okay? Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Yoda lady.
Wait. Yodeling.
I didn't know you could yodel.
That was our very own Cassidy Hill of Panthers.com. She sat down with rookies to discuss their first experiences at rookie minicamp last week. And you can watch those full interviews on the Panthers official YouTube page or Panthers.com. So make sure to go check out more on that. Okay, TD, Jadeveon Clowney no longer with the Panthers. So what I want to know is, who do you expect to fill that gap, and how much pressure does it put on these young guys, these young draft picks, Nick Scorton and Princely Unmanmielen?
KB, that tells me that Dan Morgan absolutely believes in these young guys, because you don't let a veteran like Jadeveon Clowney just walk, especially a kid that made a decision to come back home and play for the home team. But I'm excited about the position right now, because we went out and I feel like we had a really great draft in getting those guys. We had Dan here, and he talked about having Nick as a first rounder on our board, and to be surprised that he was sitting at the spot that he was. So what that tells me is, when these guys went out for their rookie minicamp, they showed up, and they showed up in a big way, which left our GM confident enough to let a guy like Jadeveon Clowney walk. So our fan base sitting at home that are upset and disappointed, I mean, Clowney, we know what he means to this area, but what that also tells me is we're excited about the future. We're excited about these young guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing them step up, because everybody talked about Nick coming out of Texas A&M, and we know that there was a little drop-off in production.
We talked about this at the
Purdue.
board.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the board.
We talked about it, but we showed you some of the things that he was able to do, and he was a very disruptive player, and I think that really his best football is ahead of him. I'm looking forward to it. And then, you go back to us letting Brian Burns go at the beginning of the season last year, and now we have another guy that can be a Brian Burns type. He has the same kind of build. He has the same kind of ability to be able to bend, get around the edge, and I just think that he's another kid that's going to add a ton of value to that defensive front. And when you look at the pass rush situation, we've definitely gotten better this offseason.
I can't wait to see that. So as we talk about the draft, there was another guy drafted, safety Lathan Ransom. What does he bring to this safety room, and how do you see all of that shaking out?
Listen, when you go back and you look at the Panthers' history, we've always had a tone setter on our defense. And I feel like this kid, Lathan Ransom, and watching his film, he's a guy that can definitely go out and be a tone setter. At Ohio State, he was able to be that guy for them. Along with Caleb Downs, they made sure that people knew if you came across that middle, you were going to have to pay for the things that you were trying to collect. And when you watch this kid, he loves the game of football. He comes up, he tackles very well, and that's one of the things you need defensively when you have a guy that's the last line of defense. You need somebody that's going to save the day. But a lot of times he gets used in the box to be an extra defender to really stop the run. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table from a standpoint of physicality, smart and tough football.
Intimidation.
Listen, that's what you got to have. You know, Dan Morgan talked about it 2 years ago in his presser about having dogs, and he's drafting guys that I feel like fits that mold.
All right, I like to hear that. Coming up, though, another rookie that took minicamp by storm, Jimmy Horn Jr. We are going to be talking about him after the break.
Closed captioning for the Panthers Television Network is provided by Charlotte Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Associates, providing premier eye and ENT care to North and South Carolina.
I'm a rap athlete, you can't lack me. When I'm on, grip the mic like it's a baton up at the track meet. Over a pitch and throwing fast heat. I'm more dangerous than a gas leak. Your whole style heinous like a trash heap. Lyrical exercise, I got 'em annoyed. This ain't rapping, this is rap on steroids. So if you whack, then come up off it. It's lyrical homicide, we catch it coffins. Give it a...
Welcome into TD's Film Room. TD, we are going to talk about a guy right now that really took rookie minicamp by storm, impressed a lot of people, but he's been doing it since Colorado under Coach Prime. Jimmy Horn Jr., if you don't know the name, I think you're going to know it very soon. TD, tell us why this guy is so impressive.
Listen, when you watch Jimmy Horn Jr. play, he's a ball of energy. He's a guy that absolutely loves going out and play this game, and you can tell by the way he approaches everything. He's always smiling, he's always excited, and he just has a ton of energy surrounding him. And not to mention the speed, the athleticism, and his ability to track the ball in the air is phenomenal. And so for us to be able to get him where we got him, KB, it was absolutely a steal.
All right, you mentioned speed, athleticism, and ball tracking ability. So let's start with some speed, shall we?
Listen, we just talked to you about all of these things, and we don't just talk about it for nothing. We make sure that we are able to back up what we say with the film. So watch us jump right into this. Watching Jimmy Horn Jr. play at Colorado, this is one of the opportunities that you really get to see the speed. Watch him make the guy miss, and he don't even look like he's running very fast. But one of the things that stood out to me, if you watched NFL football, there's a guy in the NFL that has the same celebration and the same kind of speed, and he throws up the deuces, and that's Tyreek Hill. That was the tribute to the cheetah right there. So anytime you see a player going out and throwing up the cheetah, see you later sign, that shows you that this guy has a ton of belief that he's the fastest man on the field.
He absolutely does. You can see that. All right, what else does he bring to the table that impresses you?
Listen, so when you have a guy that's smaller in stature, you got to be able to make sure you can make guys miss. So if you're fast and quick, it's almost impossible to tackle guys like that,
Fast
KB.
and quick, difference.
Listen, fast guys, they can run straight line and run by you. But if you have a fast and quick guy, they can literally make you miss in a box. Like you standing in a box with this person, and KB, they can make 1 or 2 steps. Christian McCaffrey was like that. He was a guy that was fast and quick. For example, like, you know, you see a guy like that, and you think you're going up to tackle him, and you're going to put a big hit on him because he's smaller. No, they're going to leave you standing right there because of abilities like this. And you'll see it right here with Jimmy Horn Jr. catching the ball, has 4 guys right there, make a miss, and turn this thing that should have been a negative play into a positive. And that was one of the things that stood out about him on film, just watching the ability. When guys are right here, KB, look at this position. Whenever you can put a defender in that kind of position, we call that snatching those ankles, man. And he snatched his ankles in a major way on this play. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys around him right now that all should make this tackle at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, KB. But because Jimmy Horn is a special player, because he has that speed and quickness that we just talked about, and it just looks effortless. He doesn't look like he's working overly hard to make that happen, KB.
Yeah, but it's not just that. He's disciplined on the field, right? Body control, things like that. And I know you want to show us some of that.
Absolutely. When you see a player have the ability to go out and track the football, that's one of the biggest things that a lot of receivers separate themselves from other people with. We watch Teteroy be able to track the ball in the air, and we talked about that on our film room the last time we were on. But if you watch Jimmy Horn Jr., he has some of those same abilities to be able to track the ball. Just watch this ball placement and watch him with his eyes on the ball, look this ball in all the way. Like the ability to adjust your body like this to the ball, KB, that is a special player. And he knows it. He knows it, KB.
Well, you can tell with the celebrations, he definitely knows it.
Absolutely.
All right, but I know that one of the things you prize the most when it comes to a player in any position is toughness. And you have told me that this kid is tough.
Listen, this kid and the way that he approaches the game, and you're going to hear me talk about his approach, his mindset to playing football. You got to love the game of football. As a receiver, as a smaller receiver, to have the ability to run routes across the middle, knowing without a doubt that you're going to get hit, and welcome the contact, not just shy away from it. You see a lot of guys, and my college coach used to tell receivers, you're going to get hit anyway, so catch the football.
Great point.
And he understands that. He gets hit on this play, and he makes the catch through contact, and that's what I love about this young kid, as well as the speed and agility. Look at him. Watch him take this hit, hold on to the football, and bounce right up and line up for the next play. So that just shows me that Jimmy Horn Jr. is not only fast, he's not only quick, he's not only has the ability to track the ball all over the field, but he's also tough, and he loves the game of football. That's my kind of player.
All right, coming up, the entire Panthers organization came together for a great cause. You do not want to miss that.
After the break, Kristen and TD close out the show with their final thoughts on the Panthers Huddle. This exclusive presentation of the Carolina Panthers Television Network is brought to you in part by Bank of America, the official bank of the Carolina Panthers.
Keep Pounding Day is true to our heart. You know, Sam Mills and the Keep Pounding mantra, we're so glad to be able to give back in the community. And North and South Carolina, we're two states, one team, and we're so proud to be here.
Man, it's honestly beautiful, man. This don't happen everywhere, you know what I mean? And just being here for the second year, seeing this day like happen for everybody to come out and do their thing in the community, man, it's beautiful.
It's kind of a fun environment just to be around those people and then to give back to the community. Obviously today with the teachers, how important they are, how important teachers have been in my life.
It's really great that the Panthers are doing this for our school and that they're giving back to the community and they have just a presence, and our kids get to see people that they see on TV and see the work that they're doing in the community, that it's not just about football, but it's about a partnership with our schools to celebrate our kids and teachers.
It's important because community is important. I mean, nothing, you know, when you have this type of platform, it's so good to, you know, give back, and it's really very, very important. But the most important thing is we do it because we want to, not because we have to, and that's what makes it really special.
That is one of our favorite annual traditions, 7th annual Keep Pounding Day, where everyone from the organization, that means players, coaches, employees, everyone comes together to give back to the community. And TD, for someone who is as community-minded as you, I know it always warms your heart and everyone's heart to see all of the love that goes back into our communities in North and South Carolina.
Absolutely. You know, that's a special thing to be able to do, to come into a city and have that city embrace you, but you also have the opportunity to give back to that city. And the Carolinas love seeing our players come out and do things for them and give back to them. So hats off to the Panthers and the Panther players for doing big things within this community.
Well said, well said. All right, more exciting stuff coming up. You know, once rookie minicamp gets rolling, then you've got OTAs coming up at the end of the month. It really feels like football is back. So what I want to know from you is, what are your top 3 storylines going into OTAs?
Listen, my first storyline is the safety battle. There's a lot of talk. We only have 4 safeties on the team right now. We made a big splash in bringing Merrick in, but I know without a doubt that it's going to be a great battle. It's going to be a great competition. I'm a huge fan of Damani Richardson.
Yes.
We've talked about that. But I just love what having the ability to go out and compete does for players. It makes everybody in that room better. So I know that there's going to be a huge battle. We brought Ransom in. We brought Scott back. So I just feel like that particular group, you're going to see guys push to try to be the starters in that particular area, and it's going to make everybody better. But at some point, I feel like we're going to also have to look into bringing another body in, maybe a veteran player that has a little bit more experience than some of those younger guys. But, you know, that's probably the biggest thing for me right now when it comes to really seeing what's going to shape out in that position group.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. What is your second storyline to watch?
My second storyline would have to be that front. I feel like we have a ton of new faces up there. And last year, we went out and had a ton of new faces come in from the offensive line, and it paid off. We know that football is won in the trenches. So all of the guys that we brought in, watching those guys come together, watching them gel, now that we've released Jadeveon Clowney, finding out who's going to be our starters on the edge, that's going to be another big thing that I'm really interested in finding out.
Absolutely. Okay, third storyline that you are watching and that everyone else should be watching in OTAs.
Listen, we are in a great spot at the receiver position. So much so, so much so, there are going to be some of the guys from our receiver room that makes other teams.
Yeah, embarrassment of riches right now.
Definitely an embarrassment of it. But for me, it's just finding out who's going to be in that top spot. You know, whether you're going to have a guy like Musa Muhammad step up, whether you're going to have Jimmy Horn Jr. excel and take off, you know, having T-Mac come in right now. You know, you got Thielen, you got X, you like all of these guys that have the ability to go out and put up big numbers. That's going to be a fun opportunity to watch all of those guys come together, man. It's going to be exciting. We are in a great place, KB, when it comes to wide receivers as a Carolina Panther unit.
Yes, we sure are. Another spot there that, you know, needed improvement going into the offseason. And boy, I tell you what, Dan Morgan in that front office sure delivered on that. All right, I had a great time talking rookie minicamp, but you can see more rookie minicamp content on the Panthers YouTube channel. You can check out the Panthers schedule release video that came out a little while ago, and you can keep up to date with everything involving OTAs. So thank you so much for watching. We will be back soon, but until then, TD,
keep pounding.
You've been watching the Panthers Huddle, a copyrighted presentation of the Carolina Panthers and the NFL.